Let's talk side hustles. So it has become very apparent more and more each day that people need additional streams of income. Now, in some countries, you may be able to work multiple jobs, but unfortunately, the Jamaican landscape isn't very accommodating to that right now. So that is where side hustles come in. Now, when you're considering side hustles, it is easy to become overwhelmed with all the suggestions. Just do a quick Google search and you'll see so many things come up with so many people and articles promising you to give you the 5 best earners, the 5 most wanted side hustles right now. And when you take a look, sometimes it isn't suited to you, or sometimes these are just things that you cannot do. So today we'll be looking at how do you select a side hustle that's suitable for you, and stick around to the end of the video. I'll tell you the side hustles that I personally have tried and my favorites, what has worked for me, what I've earned money from, the whole works. Let's go. One of the first things to think about when thinking of a side hustle that you want to try is how much would I need to invest in this venture? Now, if you're looking for a side hustle, it means that you need additional income. You're not earning enough, or you just need some more to get you to your financial goals a little bit quicker. For me, I like to think about side hustles that require little to no initial monetary investment. That means I would have had everything that I need to start before I even enter this side hustle, or it doesn't require that many things to start from jump, because you are looking to earn money, not initially spend money. Now, if your side hustle were to grow into a full-time business, then you would think of making investments. But at the start, you want to look for side hustles that require little to no investment to start, and or you have everything that you already need to start, so you can just go ahead and start to work on that hustle. The second thing for me is that I like to assess my passions and the skills that I actually have already. Now, if you're looking to earn and you're looking to earn relatively quickly, you don't necessarily have time to go learn a new skill and to master it. And so I like to take stock of what it is that I already know how to do and the things that I'm passionate about. And so I like to think, how can I take these skills and passion that I already have and turn it into something that can actually earn me money? Now, a lot of us, we do have these skills and many people utilize them every day for free. But now you need to think about, how can I start charging for this skill? How can I start charging for this thing that I'm really good at and people keep coming to me about it? Now, if you have a skill or you're passionate about a thing, whether it be you have a physical trade that you can do, and every time people need this particular thing done, you're the first person that comes to mind, or people keep recommending you to other people to get it done, that might be something that you can turn into a hustle and start to actually earn from. For example, if you are really good with spreadsheets, you know how to put these together, you build a spreadsheet for everything, you're just that organized person, then you can go ahead and think about, how can I now transfer this passion that I have, this skill that I have, into something that I can earn from. You may be a great organizer. You can go into an email, you can organize everything. You're just this person who likes to see everything set up. Then you can think about, will people pay me for this skill? Is this something that I can earn from? And just with a little bit of a good Google search, you might be surprised what it is that you find that people are willing to pay for and that you already have as a part of your personality or a skill that you've acquired over the years. The only thing you would need to consider is, now, how do I move this skill from something that I have, something that I do so naturally, into something that people are willing to pay me to do? And I believe I have a video on this, but just to go into it really quickly, you would need to just look in the space, look at what it is that you're offering, see if there anybody else out there who is offering the same service, what their marketing is like, how are they getting themselves out, what are they charging for this service, and you could use that as a template to get started and to turn that passion or that skill into a money maker. Now, next thing, the best low-cost side hustles are usually service-based. And so if you're going to go that route, you need to be thinking about, how much time will I need to dedicate to this service, to offering this service, and how can I fit that into my already established routine without getting overwhelmed? Yes, you want to be earning, but at the end of the day, it will need you to become a master at balancing your 9 to 5 if you have one, or your regular way of earning, with this additional business that you've taken up on your hand, or this side hustle that you're pursuing, because you will still have an obligation to your 9 to 5 as well as to those who are patronizing you as a part of your side hustle. So you need to figure out, how much time do I have to dedicate each day to this hustle, and you need to form your framework of service around that. So if you know you can only dedicate 3 to 4 hours per day, you would want to find something that can work with that within that time frame and still be profitable. The next thing, and I think one of the most important things to consider, is the profitability of the hustle that you've chosen. So you've decided how much time you can dedicate to it, you've decided what it is that you want to turn into this passion, and you realize that you don't really need a lot of startup to get started. But however, will this thing make you money? How quickly will it start to make you money? Over time, how much money do you think this thing can actually make? A lot of side hustles can be started, but you may not realize a lot of profit from it. It may become overwhelming and time consuming, and the money that you're making in relation to the time that you're spending may not be worth it after all. And so this is something you need to look at before you get started. How much money can I actually make? How quickly will I start to earn this money? And in the long run, is this really something that will work out for my benefit? Next to consider is, how will I let people know about this? And a lot of people, especially if you're used to working in a 9 to 5 setting, or you're used to being an employee, going into a side hustle is essentially starting a business. You become an entrepreneur, whether you like it, yes or no, whether you ever saw yourself as that, yes or no. And one of the things that you will need to do is to market yourself. Now, if you're like me, you may struggle with putting yourself out there. You don't necessarily have that skill, that innate skill to sell yourself, and that is something that you will need to overcome the fear of putting yourself out there. You will need to learn to put yourself out there in an effective way, and to put yourself in front of the people that need to see you, the people who you will need to patronize your business. Now, in this case, you can always just go on YouTube, YouTube University. You can do a quick Google search and find out, again, how the people who are offering the service that you're offering or you're planning to offer are putting themselves out there. Where are they located? Where are they offering these services? How are people finding out about them? And then you can go ahead and copy that. Maybe it will take some time, it's trial and error, of course, but at the end of the day, if this is something that can be profitable, it is something worth trying. Next thing that you need to be comfortable with is telling everybody about your side hustle. Now, this may make you uncomfortable, but I'm of the opinion that if you're my friend and I'm starting something and I tell you about it, you need to patronize. You need to support me. You need to pay for this service. You need to be one of my first customers. If I have 10 friends, right? Like 10 friends that I talk to all the time, 10 friends that I'm close with, 10 friends that we're going out, are we spending my money together, right? To have fun. If I'm going to start something and they have utilized me in the past for free to do it, when I start my business, then there should really be no questions about whether or not you're going to go ahead and pay for the service at this point in time. It can be tricky to get people who used to get this thing for free to go ahead and pay, but if they're your friends, if they really love you, then they really should have no drawbacks about going ahead and paying for it. But for you, you need to be shouting it on from the roof that you started this business, you're offering this service, and so even if your immediate circle doesn't need the service immediately, they may know somebody who does, and so that is a good way also to get yourself out there. But over time, becoming comfortable talking about what it is that you're doing and letting people know that you do offer this thing and this is where they can find you, it becomes easier for you to go ahead and to sell yourself, go ahead and to market yourself, and to ease yourself into that aspect of side hustles. Another thing that you need to be considering when you're going to take up a side hustle is, what is my aim? Is it that I have a debt that I want to cover? For example, you may have a credit card debt that you want to pay off in a shorter space of time than you are now being projected to pay it off. And so you're thinking, I'm going to start this business just to pay off my credit card. I'm going to start this business just to cover my loan. I'm going to start this business to help me buy a car, or whatever the case might be. Now, what is your goal? How quickly do you want to achieve your goal? And what are you going to do to ensure that you stay on track? Even though this is a side hustle, it is not something to be taken lightly. Having a structured plan, what it is that you want to achieve, how you plan to achieve it, and going over and to see if you're hitting the milestones that you've set out for yourself is a good way to know if this is something you either need to stop doing, or this is something you can revamp to make it better than it currently is, and just give you better projection going forward, right? We're not going to treat it as though it is not serious. It is. This is you making money, and the potential to earn is always something that we should take seriously. No matter the business that anybody is in, there comes a planning. You have to sit down, you have to take stock, whether it be physically or You're just going over your plan, what you've achieved so far, how much time you've spent on this thing, for you to know if this is going to hit the goal that you've set out for yourself, or if this is something you may need to stop doing, go back to the drawing board and see if you can find a fresher perspective or another service that you can offer to get where you need to go. Another thing, if you're like me, I don't like to do anything that I don't like. If I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. And if I do it, I'm not going to do it very well. That's just my personality, right? There are things that I have to talk myself into, obviously, and kind of just wait and just get it done. But if you are that way, you will find that there are certain aspects of doing the side hustle that you may not necessarily like. But what you can do early on is identify what those things are, identify your strengths, identify your weaknesses, and see how best you can work around and work through those, because that can make or break your side hustle. For example, if you're not great at time management, offering a service that is time sensitive would not necessarily go well. So you need to know that, hey, I don't have the best time management skills. And so if you're going to offer a service that's time sensitive, you need to give yourself more time than you may need to carry out the project, just to have a buffer for that procrastination stage. And while you're in it, learn more and more to reduce the amount of time you take to actually get started and to finish the project. So over time, it becomes a habit that is easy to get into and to carry out. Now, for me, when I was looking for side hustles, I came to YouTube first. I typed in side hustles for Jamaicans and a lot of things came up. Now, among the things that came up, I did try quite a few, and I'm going to tell you about them and what the results were and how I personally feel about them. Now, one of the things that came up was surveys. Doing surveys online, and there was a platform that was recommended by a YouTuber, I don't remember her name. It was Blue Dot Survey. Now, I signed up for Blue Dot. Now, beforehand, the video that I watched and encouraged to sign up for Blue Dot and you could earn some money, she did say that it wasn't a lot of money. Now, my goal at the time was to increase my income exponentially, more than what it is that I was earning at the time. And so I decided, every mickle make a muckle, let's just try. Now, I did earn money on Blue Dot by filling out surveys. So you would sign up on the platform and then they would send you the surveys. You would respond. When you get the link, you'd click on the link, go to the survey, fill it out, and you would be awarded points for each survey that you did. Now, I did do that. I did complete a couple of surveys. I think I made probably $6,000 over a 2-month period, but I found that it really wasn't for me. One, $6,000 was not helping me to get to my goal as quickly as I needed to, and this was time sensitive. My goal was time sensitive. I needed to get my income up within a certain time frame, and so this just wasn't cutting it for me. The next thing is that you are told before starting the survey how much time you would need to allocate to actually starting it and ending it. So they would say maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever. I found that I didn't always have that time to kind of sit, because the surveys would come haphazardly. You couldn't tell when a survey was coming in. You would just get an email notification, and a lot of these, as soon as they had their sample area, the amount of responses they required, the survey would be closed. So if you really wanted to jump on it, as soon as you were given the notification, you needed to have jumped on it and to start. Now, working a 9-to-5, having a child, being a single parent, all those jazz, I didn't always get an opportunity to fill out the survey as it came in, and so I missed a few. So it just really wasn't for me in that regard. Another thing was that the payout time was a little bit long. I think it took 10 days after making your first withdrawal for you to get the funds transferred to your account. The next thing is that there was a minimum you had to earn in order to even make a withdrawal. I think it had to be over 1,500 Jamaican dollars, so over 1,500 Jamaican dollars for you to be able to make a withdrawal. Anything before that time, you had to leave it on the platform, or the option was there for you to donate to charity. Now, while that is good, that wasn't what I was going for at the time, and so I decided not to continue on that path. I still do get surveys every now and then, but I haven't filled out any in a while, made a withdrawal, and that's just that. So that's one of the side hustles that I tried to earn additional income. Another one that I found was doing tasks online and being paid to do so. Now, I was told of a platform called Micro Workers, and the YouTuber at the time that the video that I watched and they were telling about it, I believe they had said they were making like $300 extra a month, US dollars a month, just by completing these tasks and on the platform. So I was like, $300, that's not bad. That's actually something I could do with. right? And so I went and I signed up for micro workers. And upon doing this video, I did research it, and the platform is still very much there. And I went through and I saw, so what they would do is they would have these tasks. So people would come in and they would set up the tasks that they wanted to be completed, and then they would put a dollar value to it. Now, the dollar value was usually in cents. So for example, one of the tasks could be go and like the social media post, comment, and so on. And you also had to submit proof that you had actually carried out the task. Now, for me, if you know me, I'm not tech savvy. I am barely techie at all. I found it very tedious to kind of read everything that was required of me and then kind of write down what evidence I would need to submit so I could get the payout, and then actually watch these videos, whether it be YouTube or Instagram Reel or whatever, and like the post, comment, so on and so forth, and then go back and submit the proof, answer the questions that they would have just to say that you actually watched the video. And I was getting like 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, whatever the case might be. Now, the higher the payout on the task was, the more tedious it was. I think I made $5 over a 30-day period. I think I made $5. And I tried because the person had said, hey, they spent probably like an hour or two on it each day. And at the end of the month, they had $300. I spent more than an hour or two on it each day, and I did not make that money. Not to say that you can't, I just didn't. And I think just me not being techie was one. Two, I really didn't appreciate the dollar value to the work that I was putting in. And I was just like, this is not for me. Because a task, probably they were saying, oh, this would take you 5 minutes, but it took me way more than 5 minutes. And then I was just like, 10 cents, 20 cents is just not it. Again, they had their base for which you could do a withdrawal. I don't know what that base is. I don't I made that base because I think I made $5. And so I did not even continue on that. I don't even know the login or anything for the platform, but that was something that I saw and decided to try at the time. Another side hustle that I had tried and still do is tutoring. So I tutor kids in mathematics, and that for me proved profitable, but I had trouble balancing it with my everyday life. And so, you know, when you're tutoring kids, it's like teaching. So you have to sit and, well, for me, I sit and I go through, I assess where the children are. And if you're tutoring multiple children, they won't necessarily all be at the same place. And my job, I believe, is to get you from where you are to where you need to be. And so I'm going to assess you. And then after I assess, I'm going to put the lesson together that is suited to you, your strengths, your weaknesses, what it is that you need to develop. And so if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 children doing with this, it can become overwhelming and time consuming. Again, I had my 9 to 5, I'm a single parent. I had all those responsibilities still. And then I had to sit down after doing all of the preparation for the class and actually teach the class. I had to mark the work that I was giving and all of that. And so I found it a little bit strenuous and I didn't continue. And another thing is that I really wasn't marketing myself as well as I think I could have, because I do know people who do tutoring and they're doing it full time. It's making them money. They're doing well at it. They've even gone to the point where they have invested in software like Zoom and Google Classroom or whatever. So, you know, when they're doing their classes, they have the necessary tools for their students to grasp, and they don't have to worry about time and all those things on the platforms that they're using. But for me, I really didn't market myself very well. I struggled with imposter syndrome. Can I really do this? Am I gonna be any good at it? And I've worked with students who I've seen great improvement from in their grades. Their parents have attested to that, and so I know that I can, but I struggled with imposter syndrome. That's one. Two, it was very strenuous in terms of the time requirements to put into it, and I just didn't continue. At the time when I was doing it, I was charging $1,500 per hour, which was a mid-range for what people do charge. People charge $2,000 upwards depending on what it is that they're offering and how they structure their thing. I was charging $1,500 per hour. As I said, I did make money. Not a lot of money, but I made money. And it is something that I enjoyed. I do enjoy educating other people, you know, helping them to find themselves and to see that they can do a thing that they thought they probably couldn't have done before. So it's something that I enjoyed, but I just found that it was a little bit heavy based on my responsibilities and my time. And as I spoke about earlier in the video, having a side hustle that is not you can't balance it well with your day-to-day activities or your established routine can just cause you to become burnt out, and that's something that you should always consider before starting a side hustle. The next thing that I did, or another thing that I did, is that I sold soaps, so natural soaps. Now this would not meet the criteria of a low investment startup because I had to put money in. I think I started probably 6 or 7 thousand Jamaican dollars to buy 24 soaps, I think. Don't remember. And these are soaps that I actually have used. So these are soaps that I can attest to that they do work. I do have people, I still have them now. I just haven't been doing a very good job at selling them. But there's soaps that I use personally on my skin, on my daughter. I have a friend who has, or people who I know who have eczema, I have sold them soaps, and or I've given them soaps for their children, for themselves, and they've said that these soaps work. And so I know that they work. I know that they're good products. I just haven't gotten behind them. Again, imposter syndrome. Do I really want to go out, and do I really want to put myself out there? Because when you're doing a business, you're not just selling a product or a service, you're selling yourself. And if you're just not at the place to do that, then you're going to have that problem. And I think that's the biggest hurdle to overcome, just knowing that, hey, you have to go out there, you have to put yourself, and you have to be okay with rejection. Some people are gonna say, yeah man, and they're gonna love you and they're gonna gravitate towards you. But then there are some that aren't going to be as pleased, and they aren't going to gravitate as well, and they aren't even probably going to like you. And that's okay. That's a part of it. Rejection is a part of anything that we're going to do. So you have to get used to that. But I did try selling that. I think I sold off the first batch, and I have been doing it over the years, but again, not very well. But it's something that I've done. I even created a page for it, I think on Instagram now. I renamed it to Organic Soapsmiths, but I really hardly ever post over there. I had started, I'm not the greatest with social media and using the platform and using it maybe to propel what I'm doing to its best. That's something that I'm still learning, but I did try that. I think if you establish yourself well enough on a market base and people are willing to buy these things, and you can show people where this can actually benefit them, you may have something good on your hands. So if you have if you have this money that you can go and invest in this, the turnaround time on it may be a little different. I mean, when you're tutoring, you know that you're being paid before or after the class ends. There is almost an immediate turnaround in terms of payout, but when you have these soaps, it is stock that you're holding, then turnaround and turnover may be a little bit different. So that may be something to consider, but that's something that I also tried. Another thing that I tried, or another two things that I'm going to make these two quick, is I sold mangoes out of the back of my car. I was driving in Old Harbor one day, and I love mangoes. And so I saw this field, or as we call it, mango bush. And there were all these mango trees, and I went over there, and I eventually met the owner for the property, and he told me how he sold his mangoes. And I would travel to Old Harbor, I would fill up my car trunk. I drove a Honda Fit, body scare about the place. I don't care what anybody wants to say. Either way. And I would fill up my Fit, the back of the Fit. Fit does have a good trunk space, for those of you who might not know that. I would fill up the back of the car, I would come back to Mandeville, I'd pop my trunk, and I would just be selling mangoes by the side of the road. Now, you might be saying, so how come you're not selling soaps by the side of the road selling mangoes? I don't know. But my mom would help. I think I used to do it like on whenever mango season would come in, which would be like June, July, August. I'd always go on a Saturday morning, try to go early, try to get the mangoes and be back in Mandeville by a particular time and try to sell them. What I did though was I didn't sell them at the rate that everybody else was selling them for, because like one East Indian can probably earn you $200, $300, up to $500, even $1,000. But the rate that I was getting it at, I didn't need to do that. And so I would kind of package them and bundle them. I just needed to ensure that one, I made back whatever it is that I invested in terms of buying the mangoes. My gas money, at the time I wasn't using the tolls, I would drive the back way, and so I needed to make sure that my expenses were covered, and then I had a profit. And I always did. Mangoes always did very well, and there were different kinds and types of mangoes, so I was appealing to different demographics, and that's something that I did. And I think I enjoyed that more because I love mangoes, and I think Manchester doesn't really have a lot of mango trees. If we do have like East Indian and Julie a lot. People might have it, but it's not as frequent as in other parishes, and so when people see it, they're more willing to buy it, as opposed to probably like a soap and the prices of the soap. And you know, people might say, oh, but I can, and there's always an alternative, but it's mango. What's the alternative to mango? No mango. So I did that. I've also done barbecues, fish fries. Those were very time consuming, but again, I didn't necessarily need to put up any capital up front, because what I would do is I would try to get people to buy tickets preliminary before the event, and I would use that money to buy whatever I would need to carry out the event. And then so whatever I made would always just be profit, because I didn't put any money in it at all. My mom, myself, and I would get my friends, big up on a nice clean self, to help me out in doing the cooking. And I think I can cook, guys. Nobody has ever died, and people have always said the food is good. So to help us out, so we would save money there as well. I would do the deliveries myself. So I was head cook and bucket washer. I would do the deliveries myself. It's just you have to be on time, because you know people are sensitive about their food. Obviously there were hiccups along the way, and it's something that I would do again just because I love cooking, and I love it. Like cooking for people is something that I really enjoy, and I love when people enjoy what I cook. So that's something that I would do again if I had the time and the capital. Just the time capital, not necessarily the money, but just the time, because it is time sensitive and it takes a lot out of you. If you've ever done anything like that, or if you've just ever had a party or anything where you're required to serve people and to prepare food and to get everything organized or whatever, it is a lot of stress. So if I had that, I probably would do it again. But that's something that I did, and I always found it very profitable as well. Maybe not as big as it could be, because I don't know a lot of people, but whenever I did get support, I did get it, and I was always appreciative of that. And I would always do it when I had a goal in mind. So if I had something that I needed to pay for, like my insurance was coming due, because even though your girl a drive car, your girl was broke. I was broke. So I would always just try to keep it in advance, and then have the goal of how much money I want to make, and I would do it down to the math, how many boxes of food I needed to sell, what types of food I needed to sell. I would do it many different ways. I always knew what my end goal was, and I would know if I would know if I was gonna make this end goal, yes or no, prior to by the selling of tickets. So my tickets were always set out to meet my goal, and then whatever food I would sell to passerbys or whatever the case might be is just additional in the box. But I would always try to ensure that my goal is met. And last but not least, I did freelancing. Freelancing when I started was a side hustle. It wasn't something that I was still at my 9 to 5 when I started studying with Internet Income Jamaica. And then I moved online to work with the property management company that I got fired from. And then I had to just go full-fledged into freelancing. I didn't have to go full-fledged into freelancing. I could have gone and looked at 9 to 5, but I didn't want to. I don't like it. And so I kind of just took a leap of faith and said, hey, I'm gonna just do this. Now, in freelancing, though you might be saying, you know, it's a full-time main source of income, so it's not a side hustle, but it can be. It can be for you if you don't want to leave your 9 to 5, or if you're not at the place, or you can leave your 9 to 5. I've made a video on it, on how I was able to sustain myself before this thing picked up and was actually making money that I could sustain myself monthly. And so what I've done so far with offering freelancing is that I've done several services. I create spreadsheets, I've done cold calling, I've even done listening to people's problems and giving them advice. I'm now offering virtual assistant services, I'm offering property management services, and each of those have brought in money on their own accord. I think cold calling is one of the ones that has really done well. I don't do that anymore because it's too much for me mentally. Like, people just yelling at me all the time, not my thing. But it is one of them that was profitable when I was doing it. Virtual assistant does do very well now. Bookkeeping, I offer that as well. I used to work in an accounting firm, and so I do have the knowledge to do what it is that I do. I had to learn QuickBooks, the software, because a lot of people do use the software, so I had to learn that. But it wasn't anything else that I had to pay for, and so that is one of the gigs. And so in offering these many different services, you can see how it almost is like a side hustle, because my main source is working. I do have one company that I work for full-time now, but I still do offer these services on the side. And so I have spreadsheets to make, I have bookkeeping to do for companies, bringing their books up to date, or just making entries, getting them ready for tax season, whatever the case might be. And so I've found that these have been what have been more profitable for me. I think cold calling would be one up there, just because I've had quite a number of orders on that. I think second in command or second behind cold calling in terms of earning would have been creating spreadsheets. I have done that. I realize that small business owners, they need something to track their expenses, their income, whatever. They don't necessarily have the knowledge to create a spreadsheet for themselves, nor do they have the capital to go and pay for a software. And so that's where I come in, and I target small business owners for that purpose. Because the bigger you are, you don't necessarily need a spreadsheet. You may need something more automated, more complex, whatever. So that would be second in terms of earnings. Others I would have to rank, I would say VA, virtual assistant services, and that's just because that's my main source of income. But in terms of it being a service that I offer, otherwise it would probably be third. if we're looking at it the way that I'm looking at it right now. But nevertheless, those have been what have brought in the bulk of income. You know, people will tell you also you can try social media. Content creators do make money. I do know people who say, hey, I earn XYZ on YouTube. I haven't been able to achieve that quite yet, but it's coming. But nevertheless, if that's something that you wanted to do, that's something. I started it with the intent to do that, but over time it's just become a way for me to share information with people, and that's cool. So yeah, those are the side hustles that I've tried. Those are the ones that have worked for me, and those are the ones that I've made money from, and those are some also that did not work so well for me, and I wouldn't do them again. But if you have an idea of a side hustle, as I said, just sit down, think about it, write it through, follow the steps that I've just listed, the things that you need to consider. Try it out and see. You don't have anything to lose. And I mean, if you're already broke, you can't be broke or done. That's why you need to be able to start something that doesn't require lots of any money at all to start. So you can't be broker. You will only walk away with more experience than you had before. Thank you so much for watching. I know this has been a long one, but I hope you did learn something from it. Of course, again, I must reiterate that my book is finished. It's called Now That You're Gone, a collection of poems for the healing woman. I said recovering last time. It's healing. Cool. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the read. I'm going to try to put the cover here so you can take a look at it, how you feel about it. You can let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment something, subscribe if you're not subscribed, share this video with somebody you think it would benefit, and until next time, big up on a nice clean self. Bye.